How's it going, Ram fans? Welcome back to another week of Monday Night Sports. I'm Madeline Davis.
And I'm Ella Fredrickson, here as always to give you a rundown of how CSU is doing in the world of athletics. From a rundown on exactly how Rams softball and tennis found success this weekend, as well as a feature on CSU's club baseball team here on campus.
To Cam giving us his picks for the first round of the NBA playoff action.
And of course, how could we forget about our favorite part of the show, Out of Pocket, where we'll take a deep dive at how losing Kendall Moore will affect next season for CSU men's hoops. All of that and much, much more is up on CTV Sports, which gets into swing right now. To get things started tonight, let's swing into some CSU softball. So after, let's just say, a rough weekend out in Logan, the Rams really needed a bounce-back weekend when they returned to campus this past week, welcoming the 21-14 New Mexico Lobos to Ram Field for another conference triple-header. Friday afternoon's matchup kicked the series off, and in this one, the Rams very easily could have let the mental part of the game get to them. After what happened against Utah State, but almost like that road trip out to USU never happened, this CSU squad looked like a completely different team, especially from the mound, where Julia Cabral put up 5 strikeouts and 2 earned runs in a full game performance. While the green and gold batter's box also showed up too, with the pair of Ashleys, as in Ashley York and Ashley Michelena, putting up 2 runs apiece in a complete offensive effort, which all ended up combining to create a solid 5-2 win to open up the series for the home team. And after the dub, the girl who got the start at pitcher had this to say about how she was able to hone things in and effectively pitch for this entire 7-inning stretch. Quote, "I think the best part from my game was just that I felt super comfortable. I knew my team was behind me the whole time and everybody was super supportive," end quote. So on that note of encouragement and positivity, let's move on to game number 2. The gorgeous Fort Collins day that Saturday came with was just the absolute perfect day for some ball. But on the other hand, the performance from the Rams in this beautiful weather didn't seem to follow the same trend at all, with the green and gold not only being held to just 3 hits the entire game, but only 1 run through 6. So if you haven't gotten the idea by now, this slump of a day ended in an L 4-2, evening up the series at 1 apiece. So after all of that, I will be the first to admit that the Lady Rams softball team has seen more than a few rough games this season. But when I say that the 3rd game of this triple header was one that all of CSU faithful would have enjoyed watching, I really mean it. Sydney Hornbuckle came out to the mound for her 7th start of the season and her 2nd shutout. So although the Lobos definitely proved their ability to get on base in this one and earn their fair share of hits, impressively enough, not one managed to have enough gas to make it home. And as a softball player myself, I can't believe how well Sydney was able to fight through the crazy wind yesterday and still come through with this type of performance. And when you combine this type of pitching with Caitlin Cook bringing in 4 ribbies and Paitlin Allen with 2 and Haley Smith with 2 hits that brought around 1, it is pretty clear to see why the green and gold took this one in dominant fashion with a final tally of 8-0. Fresh off this killer performance, the green and gold now shift their focus to a quick trip down to Greeley tomorrow for a 1-game series against Northern Colorado. But before that, they are turning right back around to head to Northern Cali for a triple header against Fresno State late next week. We'll have to see how they handle all of this traveling and, of course, some much needed time off tomorrow.
And now, moving off the field and onto the court, softball wasn't the only women's squad here on campus that found some success over the weekend. Rams tennis was out in Vegas on Saturday and Sunday for a 2-match meet against in-conference rivals UNLV and San Diego State. And unlike in men's hoops, the Reps didn't seem to stump the Rams in the slightest this time around, with CSU taking their first match of the weekend against the home teams to get things going. Unlike many times this season, CSU couldn't quite seem to pull through when it came to doubles, with UNLV taking the point fairly easily. But hey, the Rams made up for it in the singles part of the match, with Radka Bushkova coming through with yet another dominant straight set performance, taking the dub over Rebs Zita Kovac at 2 singles 6-1, 6-1 to get things started. And right after that was Anastasia Katsuba, who also won her match in straight sets to even out the singles score at 2-all, setting the stage for strong wins from both Summer Dalabana at 1 singles and Shakari Darova at 3 singles to secure the victories for the Rams once and for all. This dub over UNLV marks the first time ever that this team has won 3 Mountain West matchups in a row. Not to mention that it also gave them their 4th Mountain West win of the season, which is yet another program high. And with this dub on their minds, CSU moved on to their next match on Sunday morning against the number 70 ranked San Diego State Aztecs. So how'd they do? Well, the Rams may not have come out on top on this one against tough competition, but there were still a ton of positives to take away. The Rams did end up dropping the doubles point once again, but they battled back hard when it came to singles, with Radka Bushkova absolutely dominating at 2 singles once again to win in straight sets 6-1, 6-3, which pushed her overall record to 21-5 and into the lead for most overall victories for this team over the course of the season. Oh, and Riktorova was the other Ram who ended up on top after a tough 3-set match, taking things 3-6, 7-5, 6-1 to close out the weekend. So while the Rams did end up falling to the Aztecs, they most definitely hung in there with the number 70 team in the country. And hey, they still continue to dominate against unranked opponents like they've done all season long, with their only L's on the year coming against ITA ranked opponents. So needless to say, they're still having an amazing year, if you ask me. And up next for them is a road trip back up to Laramie again this weekend to take on Boise State and Utah State in back-to-back Mountain West matches. I will finally get to be there, and man, I am so excited to see this team in person for once.
Switching things up from the court and onto the gridiron now, with all of this football talk recently, everyone here at CTV Sports was so ready to finally see this new look team in a game-like fashion. And that's exactly what we got this past Saturday with the first scrimmage of the Jay Norvell era. With the goal obviously being taking a quick look at where everything stands after only 8 practices over the course of March and April. And of course, execute this brand new concepts this squad has been learning over the past few weeks at a clean and effective level. Execution was key here. So here is a rundown of some of the game's top storylines. First and foremost, although there's still 146 days until the Green and Gold faced Michigan in the Big House, there were a lot of positives to take away from this preseason first look. And with all of these new moving pieces on both defense and offense, one thing above all else is clearly evident. Clay Millen is still looking like the guy at QB, and for him to find success this season, he'll need his offensive line to provide him with some much-needed time in the pocket so he can deliver some strikes downfield. Like this ball he threw to newcomer from Nevada, Melquan Stovall, against tight coverage from number 8, Taiwan Francis. This was by far, the best play I saw from Saturday, so you just have to take a look at it for yourself. Wow, I mean, that grab was amazing, and the throw was put the only place it needed to be. But how about that coverage on the play by senior Francis too? Man, what an amazing rep all around. That is exactly the type of effort this new coaching staff is looking for from all sides of the field. And moving on to some more takeaways, right after the game got wrapped up, Coach Norvell said that the area that stood out to him the most was how strong the second and third string were able to perform, especially at QB, where redshirt freshman Giles Pooler and early enrollee Jackson Stratton showed that they can sling it too. This squad has a lot of solid arms, and that's an amazing change of pace from the last few years. Oh, and some other guys that have been making a name for themselves, as well as the RB duo of Wolfpack transfer Avery Morrow and returner A. John Vivens, and all of the bodies competing at CB, led by newcomers Chigozie and Newsium, and out of Cal, DeAndre Greeley out of the University of San Francisco. So needless to say, this team's leaders are really starting to take shape, one day at a time. All thanks to the high intensity and pace that this new staff is pushing them at. And speaking about this new feel at practice, defensive end Muhammad Kamara had this to say about how the team has been using the new practice style to get back to the basics and make sure they have this new system down. Quote, "It's been a long season. Last year and just coming back here is refreshed is amazing. We were trying to get in all our base plays and regulate ourselves. We got a lot of things in work, but we have to keep the simple things simple." The long-awaited spring game for the Rams comes a week from Saturday, so we'll just have to see how much more this squad improves over the next few or so.
Okay. Enough with football. The Rockies took down the Dodgers over the weekend, which means it is officially baseball season. And as you can tell, I could not be more excited. But while it may just be beginning for the major leagues, college baseball has been in full swing for quite a while. And I got to talk to the CSU baseball team to see firsthand how they've been enjoying every second of it.
Colorado State University has not had an NCAA baseball team since 1992. But that has not stopped a certain sport club from taking the field anyway.
So we have a lot of time commitment being club. You know, we try to practice about 2 to 2.5 hours a day, 4 days a week, and then play all weekend.
You got to really love the sport you're playing to play club. So I think it's just a lot of guys out here who just want to keep playing, and we all share that.
Being a dedicated club athlete takes a high level of self-discipline and can sometimes feel unrewarding. But it's the people involved that really make it worth it.
Every team is going to be a little different, but we really come together on our Arizona trips. 24 guys in one house. They get pretty tight.
Because this team is not actively promoted by the university, many students aren't even aware of its existence.
We try to get it out there through, social medias so that we can get more people to come in and just really partake and see what we're all about.
Right now, the crowd consists of mostly family and friends, but the team would love for that to change.
I'd love to increase the fan engagement, have them come out here and really support the guys.
It's awesome to see people in the stands. I know it's harder because we're not on campus, but I mean, we see the support and it's been awesome.
With that in mind, the team plays their home games at City Park Field, and they would love to see more Ram fans in the stands as they close out their regular season.
We've lost one game so far, so we're doing pretty well. As long as we are able to compete how we should be able to these next two, I think we have a good shot of making a trip to regionals this year.
While Coach McMillan would be pleased with a solo shot to center, the players are looking for a grand slam.
Our goal is the national championship, so that's always our goal, and I think this team can do it.
Close out their regular season with in-state away series against CU Boulder and UNC. And if you want to keep up to date with our baseball team here on campus like I do, you should definitely follow them on Twitter and Instagram at CSU_baseball. You won't be disappointed. And with that, Rams, it's time for a quick break.
When we come back, Cam will break down the NBA playoffs bracket by bracket. We'll see you so soon.
Hey Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
What's up, Rams, and welcome back to Cam's Corner. I'm your host, Cameron Evig. So as you've probably heard, the NBA playoffs are right around the corner with the end of the regular season going down yesterday. Find out my picks for the play-in tournament, as well as first-round matchups to follow. That on Cam's Corner, which starts right now. As I told you at the top, the NBA playoffs are finally here. And with so many great teams this year, it's sure to create some exciting basketball. And it all gets going with the still freshly added play-in tournament that just came into play in the 2019-2020 season, which I'm sure most of you know more as the time when basketball entered the infamous bubble. But anyways, the play-in consists of 8 different teams that finished 8th through 10th in their respective conferences that will now all fight in a 4-game tournament for a chance to play in the actual postseason. Here's what I think will happen in that play-in tournament. First game you got here, the Pelicans versus the Spurs. The Pelicans are going to beat the Spurs, in my opinion, on the back of CJ McCollum. You do get DeJounte Murray back, which you're happy about if you're the Spurs, but I just do not think it's the Spurs year. But look for the Spurs to be a great team in the future. DeJounte Murray is going to be an all-star point guard in this league. Minnesota versus the Clippers, and this is the Paul George show. Paul George is going to have a phenomenal game here against the Minnesota Timberwolves, and he's going to have a phenomenal playoff in general. He was out for 2+ months, came back, and dropped 34 on Utah's head like it was nothing. Paul George is going to lead his team to a victory against the Minnesota Timberwolves, and he's going to play well in the rest of the playoffs as well. So that leads us to the Timberwolves playing against the New Orleans Pelicans in the final game of the play-in. And although the Pelicans have looked decent since the C.J. McCollum trade, you're getting a hurt Brandon Ingram back. Jonas Valanciunas has been playing consistently, which he always does, but C.J. McCollum is going to have to carry this team if you expect them to get out of play-in tournament. I don't think it's going to happen. Minnesota, you got D'Lo, you got Anthony Edwards, as well as the third best center in the NBA, Karl Anthony Towns, to help lead them over a victory there. I got Minnesota moving on, and I got the Pelicans and the Spurs not making it past the play-in round. But now we look at the actual playoff bracket as it's now been set after these play-in games, but not before we look at the East. Atlanta and Charlotte. You got Atlanta taking on Charlotte and LaMelo Ball, as well as his teammates Gordon Hayward. They said that Gordon Hayward could be back in the playoffs. Don't know how much of an impact he will have. LaMelo Ball is going to have to carry this team. I don't think it's going to happen. You're going to get big games for Clint Capella, who is going against Mason Plumlee and Montrezl Harrell in the middle. And somebody like LaMelo Ball can get easily frayed by somebody like Clint Capella, a big athletic center who can cut off his drives and contest them at the hoop. I got Atlanta beating the Hornets, and that one's not going to be too close. Another game that's not going to be too close is the Brooklyn Nets going up against the Cleveland Cavaliers. And the reason I don't think it's going to be too close is simple. You got Kyrie, you got Ben Simmons, who could potentially make a comeback in this series. Nothing is official on when Ben is coming back. But Darius Garland and Evan Mobley, although a phenomenal young duo, that's exactly what they are. Very, very young, are not going to have the firepower to beat out Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. I think the Nets take this one, and I think they take it in big fashion. So that leads us to having the Atlanta Hawks playing the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I think Trae Young is just going to have a field day on Darius Garland. Trae Young is one of the most underrated point guards in the league, and my personal favorite player that is not on the Denver Nuggets. He is just phenomenal. The way he passes, the way he forces you to play up on him, and then you get your ankles taken. Trae Young is going to lead his team to the playoffs, and they're going to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. And that now sets our playoff bracket as we take a look at what we think is going to happen in that playoff bracket. Western Conference, the Suns versus the Clippers. You got the Mavericks against the Jazz, Golden State, Denver, Memphis, Minnesota. The Western side's an interesting one. Right here, you got the Phoenix Suns and Devin Booker, who has been phenomenal these last couple games for the Suns. An MVP candidate, to say the least. And although the Clippers, on the back of Paul George and Norman Powell, are going to get out of the play-in, it's going to be a quick exit for the Clippers. I'm thinking a 4-1 Suns W. I don't think Paul George can do it, but I would not be surprised if he averaged 40 in every single game. Dallas and Utah. Now listen, we all know the dominance that is Rudy Gobert, but what's the issue with Rudy Gobert? His perimeter defense is atrocious. Luka Doncic is going to have a field day picking on Rudy Gobert in the pick and roll. I think Luka is going to drop 40 every single night with his floaters, with his passes, and I don't think Rudy Gobert is going to have a shot at dealing with him. I got the Mavs taking this one over the Jazz 4-2. Golden State, Denver. This is very, very dependent on if Steph Curry is going to be back for this series, how healthy Steph Curry is if he does come back for this series, and what that looks like. We all know what the MVP is going to do in Nikola Jokic. He's going to have his games. Are you going to get something from Aaron Gordon? Are you going to get something from Will Barton? Probably not. And for me, that's just not going to be enough to beat the Steph Curry-led Golden State Warriors. Now, without Steph Curry, I do believe the Nuggets have a shot. You can see the Nuggets taking this series 4-3 without him. But it seems like Steph's going to be back for this series. It's going to be super hard to beat the reigning MVP and the reigning champions in the Golden State Warriors or in the Denver Nuggets if you're Steph Curry. It's going to be tough for both of these teams. It's going to be a great series. Nikola Jokic and Steph Curry are going to battle for who is the most dominant player. Minnesota and Memphis this last game here. The battle of the youngins. Neither one of these teams have very much playoff experience, but I got Memphis taking this series 4-3. This is going to be a great series to watch. You're going to see high-action basketball all around the court. Hopefully we get a couple Patrick Beverly fights in there, but I got Memphis taking this one 4-3. You just see so much out of this Memphis squad. And Ja Morant coming back healthier, looking healthy, as well as Jaren Jackson playing like one of the league's premier big men. Memphis taking that one 4-3. Now, moving on to the eastern side of the bracket, the Miami Heat and the Atlanta Hawks. This is a series that you see the Heat taking pretty convincingly. I'm saying 4-2 for the Heat. I would not be surprised if the Heat come out slow and maybe lose a game to the Hawks, and then Kyle Lowry locks his team in and makes sure his team gets out of that first round, beating this Hawks squad 4-2 in the end. You just don't got enough for me on the Hawks besides Trae Young. That's going to help them out. The injury to John Collins makes their playoff run look very, very bleak. 76ers Raptors. This is a series I think is going to be very, very good. Probably one of the best in the first round. And that's all dependent on how James Harden plays. We haven't been seeing how James Harden has been playing well these last couple of days. James Harden needs to show up in the playoffs, needs to show up in the first round, and he has to play better than he has been doing. Spicy P has been playing so good these last couple games. Fred VanVleet's coming back for the playoffs. I got the Sixers taking this one, but I do not have it being a blowout in any fashion. I got the Sixers taking it 4-3. The Raps are a team to watch out for. They're scary. This is the series that everybody's going to be hyping up, and I don't know why. The Bulls are going to get absolutely smoked. Chicago is terrible against teams over 500, and not having Lonzo Ball to match up with Drew Holiday is really going to be a bad thing for this Bulls squad. DeMar DeRozan's going to have to pop off every single night, and I just don't think it's enough. If there's going to be a sweep in any of these first-round matchups, it's going to be right here with the Bucks sweeping the Bulls 4-0. That's my prediction. And this last game, going to be another great series. The Boston Celtics going up against the Brooklyn Nets. And for me, the Nets are going to take this 4-2. You got Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, who have been playing like one of the best young duos in the league, but one of the best duos in the league. Kyrie Irving as well as Kevin Durant are so playoff. They have so much playoff experience that at this point, it's just another game for them. Nets over Boston 4-2, and that wraps up my first round predictions. Hey, we're going to be doing divisional round as well as championship predictions too, so make sure you tune in next week and the week after for that. But that's all I got time for, unfortunately, Rams, but make sure you stick around for Out of Pocket right after this.
So there you are, shuffling through a stack of resumes, and you come to mine. This is it. First impression. My way in. But, here's the thing. Can my resume show you how I truly stand out? Can one piece of paper really tell you my whole story? Like, that I was studying, going to night school while working 2 jobs just to help my parents pay for groceries. Or how anytime there was an opportunity, I was the first one to step up. Because I wasn't gonna let my life, my circumstances dictate who I was gonna become. And all of that determination, the commitment, the drive, that's me. And that's something you just can't put on paper. Look beyond the resume, discover new ways to develop great talent, like me.
What's up, Ram fans? Welcome back from the break, and yes, another week of Out of Pocket. let's just get into our point of debate for the week. Kendall Moore has officially entered the transfer portal. So that is another one that could possibly be gone for the CSU men's basketball roster. So I want to know what you guys think this means for our next season. Are we going to be able to compete in the Mountain West tournament if some of these guys don't end up returning? How is that going to look?
Yeah, so this was very disappointing news to me. I am a big Kendall Moore fan. He's probably my favorite player on the CSU basketball team, at least he was last year. And so this was definitely disappointing news, especially after he said he was going to come back. I do think, though, that I know that you guys are kind of CSU basketball haters, but I do think that they can still compete even if Kendall Moore leaves. I think that they go into the transfer portal, they get another guard. I mean, obviously Isaiah Stevens is fantastic, and as to all of our knowledge, he is still going to be there. So it's pretty comfortable there, and as they can go and get another one, get one more big man from the portal, maybe some sort of kind of position to kind of fill the role that Chandler Jacobs was in. And I think that they'll still be in a really great position. I really do think that David Roddy's going to come back. Honestly, I'm really not too worried about this team.
Things kind of look all over the place right now. Clock is certainly ticking in terms of recruitment for next year. Some of our bench guys might have to step up even more, and I know we struggled with that in the last season, getting those bench points, especially against those big teams. I was also a really big fan of Kendall Moore, and it hurts my heart a little bit that we thought we were going to see him next year, and then he ended up entering the transfer portal. So I don't know. I don't know what that means for the guys who say they're coming back. I don't know what that means for David Roddy. Obviously, we have Deshaun Thomas in the transfer portal too, Adam Thistlewood. It's just kind of a mess right now, and I'm really scared for what that looks like for the Mountain West tournament next year. Just Mountain West in general.
Yeah, for me, we've seen the Mountain West already be so good at recruiting. Wyoming has brought in two USC transfers as well as one UCLA transfer, and Wyoming is looking like they're building a super team in Laramie. Hunter Maldonado coming back, Graham Ike only being a junior. Wyoming is going to be so hard to compete with next year. Without David Roddy, Isaiah Rivera becomes your third best scorer on the Rams.
That's terrifying. That in itself should raise a red flag all around for everybody.
Without David Roddy, the Rams are a bottom 4 team in the Mountain West. Listen, you got to get Roddy back. With Roddy, you compete for a championship. Simple as that. Without Roddy, you're not going anywhere. Isaiah Stevens, although a phenomenal leader on the team, is not ready to pick up the slack that Roddy's left off. I can see Isaiah scoring 20 a game next year. That's not going to be enough when your second best scorer, John Tonje, can maybe get 15, and then Isaiah Rivera's getting 8. Yeah. That's not enough to win in a conference like the Mountain West. Obviously, we all expect David Roddy to be back. We expect him to just test out the NBA, get some information from scouts. But as of right now, Isaiah Rivera being your starting 2 guard is scary to me. You got to use the transfer portal. Deshaun Thomas has got as well. And for me, without Roddy, without Kendall Moore, this team is in the trenches.
Yeah, but Ram fans, that is all the sports news we have for you tonight. Make sure to tune in for a special edition of CTV Cooks. Thank you and have a wonderful rest of your night.